Welcome to the Equestrian Mindset Academy podcast, an equestrian performance podcast where we will deep dive into the mindset and management challenges of ourselves and of our peers. Our discussions will allow you to learn from experts, encourage you to set audacious goals, overcome challenges, and develop actionable plans. Ready? Let's do this. Hello everyone, and welcome back to the Equestrian Mindset Academy podcast. For those of you who are new, my name is Lauren, and I am so glad to have you here today. To all of our new followers, just make sure that you hit the subscribe button so that you do get a notification when our new episodes are available. In other news, I just wanted to let you know that I have now split the social medias. So up until now, I've had a joint social media account for the Equestrian Mindset Academy and my equestrian coaching that I also do. But they are split now, and so you will be seeing a lot more targeted content and focused posts on mindset on the Equestrian Mindset Academy on Facebook and on Instagram. So make sure you jump over there and subscribe to those as well. So I hope you really enjoyed the episode with Ben last week. And today's topic is another follow-up from something that he said that I think we need to delve deeper into. So in the episode with Ben, we were talking about delaying discomfort and that you either need to be uncomfortable up front when you say no, otherwise you'll be uncomfortable later when you have to do the thing that you didn't really want to do in the first place. And we tend to delay where possible discomfort because we want to avoid it in the moment, but it comes back to bite us later. With Ben, we also talked about the instance that he had where his student chose to jump a jump and he had advised against it. The student then ended up falling off and pinned the blame back on Ben. And both of these conversations really triggered for me the need to tell you about another concept, one where instead of delaying our thoughts, feelings, or actions, we stack them. And I'll explain this a bit further in a moment. Before we get into this concept, I want to mention two things. So for everyone who is new here, my mindset work and my performance coaching is based around principles from studying sports psychology, neurolinguistic programming, and life coaching. And this particular concept I want to credit, because it's really important to give credit where credit is due, I want to credit it to one of my mentors at the life coach school. And this came to me as a really beautiful life coaching concept, but it is also used often as a concept in ACT or acceptance and commitment therapy. What this does mean is that it's only a representation. Obviously, our brains and how we function is so much more detailed and tricky than what I'm about to explain here. But this is a really good concept and a really good way of being able to analyze yourself and what you're doing. And like usual, I am here to give you the equestrian perspective on the concept so that we can start to think about how we better ourselves and therefore we improve our horse training or our rehabilitation efforts. So with that noted, let's get into it. So the concept today is about clean versus dirty pain. But I want to step back just one step and talk about what pain actually is. So to me, if you're showing up in life, if you're in the arena of life, you are going to get hit with pain once in a while. It's inevitable. You can't avoid it. And by pain in this case, I want to be really clear that I'm not talking about physical pain, although I do know that many of us as equestrians are certainly suffering from the physical. But I'm talking in this case about emotional pain, about that really highly unpleasant emotional sensation that you get that you would say is pain because of grief, sorrow, sadness, anxiety, regret, anything like that. And for those of you who are new, I really love the life coaching or the NLP model, which says that our circumstances, so the things that happen to us, trigger our thoughts, which create our feelings or our emotions, which then drive our actions and lead to our results. Basically, you can think of it as an acronym, CTFAR. Circumstances, thoughts, feelings, actions, results, in that order. And if you'd like to know more about that, or if you'd like to go into more detail on that model, check out episode 3 of the podcast, and it will certainly help you with understanding what's to come here in this episode. So let's talk about clean pain. Clean pain is when you feel a response to a difficult circumstance in life. Whether these are like really big events, like the loss of a loved one, the loss of a horse, the loss of a dog, a physical injury and emotional trauma, or even slightly smaller but still really jarring experiences like losing a job or falling off and breaking your wrist, or being eliminated from a show jump round. Clean pain is the pain you experience that relates to things that actually happened, to the facts or the circumstance, and the reality of the circumstance. So, for example, in an equestrian context, it might be that you were eliminated from a show jumping round and you're really sad about it. Or it might be that your horse passed away and you're mourning your horse. It can even be a regret type feeling. So let's say you said something rude to a fellow competitor in the warm-up ring and you regret it. Clean pain is normally when you feel that kind of grief, sorrow, sadness, or regret about the circumstance. So then what is dirty pain? Dirty pain is when we create additional suffering by stacking extra layers of thoughts and feelings onto the clean pain. And if you're multitasking, come back to me for a moment. I just want to tell you again that dirty pain is when you create additional suffering for yourself because you've stacked extra layers of thoughts and feelings onto the clean pain. So dirty pain is when you do things like blame yourself or others for the circumstance, when you make broad generalizations about it, or you tell yourself that you should have done something differently, or you just generally start spinning in anxiety and worry. Like we said before, let's say you get eliminated from a show jumping round and you're sad about it. That's the clean pain. The dirty pain is when you start saying to yourself, I always get eliminated at this height. I'm never going to be able to jump higher than this. And you start to make those broad generalizations. Or as another example, let's say again, like before, you're mourning the loss of your horse, and that's clean pain. The dirty pain comes in when you start saying things like, I should have changed all of the fences. I should have moved that log. I knew that he was going to get stuck in that jump, that wing, that cup, whatever. So when you start telling yourself that you should have done something differently, or that it was your fault, that you're not a good owner, and you're worrying that it might happen to another horse, that's you piling on suffering. And it's no longer that you're just able to mourn the loss of your horse. It's now also that you've got all these other issues to think about as well. Like you've taken one difficult situation and you've stacked on 10 other thoughts and 10 other difficult situations. As another example, I said before, you might have said something rude to a fellow competitor in the warm-up ring and you regret it. So that's the clean pain. The dirty pain is when you start to think, oh, well, remember all the times that that person was snappy at me or at other people in the ring? So really, they triggered this and they deserved it. And it was their fault, but I feel bad because I've sunk to their level and I'm not normally like this and blah, blah, blah. And it's blame. Whether it's you pinning the blame on yourself or you pinning the blame on someone else, the blame starts to creep in. And that's dirty pain. And what's really important is that we start to talk about how to notice if you're feeling clean or dirty pain. So here's a couple of different ways. Number one, clean pain is the type of pain that you actually do want to feel. And I know that sounds really weird, and yes, you did hear me correctly, just hear me out. I want to be sad if my horse dies, or if my dog dies. I want to be able to empathize with my horse if she slips or falls. For example, you might be devastated if a parent dies, or you may have no relationship with your parent and feel nothing if they die, but then you might grieve a horse or a pet for years and years, or vice versa. So I'm not giving you these examples to say that these are the ones that you should want to feel or you need to feel in those circumstances. I'm just giving you different examples of situations in which some people might want to have clean pain. Some people may want to carry that clean pain with them. They may want to feel that clean pain. And there are also other kinds of emotions that we may want to feel because those feelings are part of the full human experience. And this is clean pain that we want to carry with us. Not forever, but we want to pick it up and take it along for the ride. So if you have pain that you think is directly connected to your circumstance and you want to feel it about that circumstance, it's probably clean pain. Number two of how to notice if you're feeling clean or dirty pain. In general, the intensity of clean pain lessens over time. As you allow yourself to process the clean pain, it lessens. Whereas dirty pain will last longer and cause more suffering in the end than clean pain because it brews and it grows and it forms differently and it changes shape as you go on. You know how your stories change and you get angry about different things as you go on? It also prolongs and extends your discomfort. All of that dirty pain will eventually feel so overwhelming and so exhausting and so heavy for you. And you will actually feel like you can't do anything else or function because you are so tired. And it will feel worse and worse over time, or it will feel like it's never improving. You'll feel stuck, you'll feel stagnant, and it's because you keep thinking these same negative, self-loathing, not very helpful thoughts over and over. Or you keep making that same prediction about your future over and over, and then each day that future comes true because of how you're thinking about it. And the third way to notice if you're in clean or dirty pain is to really break down the thoughts that you're having about it. So ultimately, and this is with thanks to my mentor at the Life Coach School, I think there are 3 ways that we create dirty pain and unnecessary suffering. Number 1, we resist reality and what is happening. We resist reality and what is happening. So we basically think that things should be different or the circumstance should be different. So that would be saying something like, my horse died, but I wish he was still alive and that my other one had died instead. In that instance, I would be spending a lot of time and a lot of energy on something that will never change. And you can really see the dirty pain there. Another way to identify dirty pain in our thoughts is that you will layer negative meaning onto the circumstance. So you'll make it mean something bad about yourself or the other person. You'll believe that it's proof that there's something wrong with you or wrong with us or wrong with someone else. So like I said before, it's kind of like my horse died and it's my fault because I didn't check the fences that morning and he wouldn't have gotten caught if I had checked them. You will never know what could have actually happened, but you've fully convinced yourself that you've done something wrong, there's something bad about you, or it's proof that there's something wrong with you or someone else. I actually have a really interesting story about that. I had this beautiful Jack Russell that I adopted, and we had had him about 6 weeks and he was absolutely perfect. He was wearing his little farm jacket and he'd come with me to do the horses morning and night and I just loved him. And his name was Patch. So Patch was being mentored, if you will, by my Labrador at the time because my Labrador was quite a bit older and a bit more responsible than a Jack Russell ever will be. And my family and I were still leaving the property each day at that stage to go out to school, university, corporate roles, whatever. And my mum and my brother came back to the property that night and they found Patch hanging on a fence. He had tried to jump into the horse paddocks and he had gotten caught on the wire fence by his collar and he had strangled himself. He had hung himself on the fence of my horse paddock. Now for me in that circumstance, I was incredibly upset to lose this dog. My animals are my whole life and I was so sad not to have him around anymore. And for me, that was the clean pain of missing Patch. But the dirty pain came in relatively quickly after, where my brain started to tell me that maybe if I had called the dogs back to the house that morning, he might not have died. Or maybe if I had locked him and my Labrador in that day, he might not have died. And I started building this list of things that I could have done, that I had done wrong or that I could have done differently. And the reality is that it was just bad luck. None of my other dogs had ever had an accident like that, and we'd been on the property for nearly 10 years. But unfortunately it happened, and my brain not only then dealt with the clean pain, it then had to deal with all of the dirty pain on top of it, of me feeling bad, me feeling like I did something wrong, and really building it up in my mind. And I'm sure if you were to think of it, you also have several examples where you are sitting not just with clean pain, but you're also still sitting with dirty pain. And that's the type of pain that I want to process through quickly or let go of quickly. Then the third way to tell if you've got thoughts that have dirty pain is that you will believe that it means something about the future. So we do this thing where we project out and then we feel like the event is going to drive and steer our future or determine our future. And we basically give the circumstance a lot of power or too much power over our future. So for example, I had this student a few months ago and she had a very good cross-country horse who unfortunately passed away. And she said to me, he died and I'll never find another cross-country partner ever again. Now that is a very bleak outlook of the future. And you can see the dirty pain there. She's very upset about her cross-country partner, her horse, dying. And she's projecting out to the future, and she already has decided that that means she will never find another cross-country partner ever again. And it's just not necessarily true, but our brain really makes us believe that it is. And that's what I want you to watch out for. The dirty pain feels so real, and our brain repeats it to us over and over and over again, and we need to be so careful of it. So as your actionable takeaway today, we are actually going to build on this concept of identifying your clean or dirty pain. So I want you to start by thinking of a circumstance that you know that you've been experiencing pain around recently. So I'm going to do this with you. For me, it's that Rio is currently unsound. I pulled his shoes off about 4 weeks ago, and I expected him to be sore on the hard ground, but I didn't expect him to be so stiff through his body and so unwilling to work on the arena. So my circumstance is that Rio is unsound. You pick yours. From there, I want you to take a piece of paper and I want you to spend 10 minutes brainstorming all of your thoughts about it. And I just want you to write without judgment, whatever comes out, capture it on that piece of paper. So my thoughts would be things like, I shouldn't have pulled his shoes off. I was wrong to pull his shoes off. I'm going to miss out on my coaching exams. I really wanted to take him to a clinic in November and I'm going to miss that. Maybe he's too old for this. Maybe I've made the wrong choice. And those are just mine in a couple of seconds. So imagine what you can do with a piece of paper and 10 minutes. Once your 10 minutes are up, I want you to categorize the thoughts into 3 groups. Number 1, wishing for a different circumstance. Number 2, stacking on additional meaning. Or number 3, believing it means something about the future. I don't mind if you circle them, cross them out, highlight them, whatever you want to do, just put them into 3 groups. Wishing for a different circumstance, stacking on additional meaning, believing it means something about the future. And I think what will happen when you look at that piece of paper with all of your thoughts and the 3 groups that have been formed is that you will be absolutely shocked at how many of your thoughts you identify as being in these 3 categories, which means that they are dirty pain rather than clean pain. And now once you've gotten to that stage, that's amazing and that's really excellent and you can stop there. But for those who want to go a step further, I'd like to challenge you to try and narrow down to what the clean thought is, the clean pain. So in my case, I'm sad that Rio is unsound. That's it. I'm sad that Rio is unsound. Maybe then I can ditch all of the other pain that my brain keeps exhausting me with, and I can just process the fact that I'm sad that Rio is unsound. If you give this a go, make sure to DM me on the socials because I would love to know what your circumstance is, what your top dirty pain thoughts were, and then what your clean pain thought is. And if you'd like some help with this or if you'd like to take this work further, then it's time to go to my calendar and sign up for my new discovery calls. So these discovery calls are totally free and you can think of them as like a chance for us to have a meet and greet and talk to each other about you and your goals and about how mindset and management work can help you get there. They're an opportunity to really see if we get along, see if we can form an action plan that you feel really good about, and to see if we can work together on an ongoing basis. You can book directly into my calendar, the link will be in the show notes, or message me through my website or socials and I'll flick you the link. Now, we all know that mindset impacts our horse training. Our horses pick up on our emotions and our feelings so easily. My goal with this podcast is to use this type of mindset and management work to help you develop yourself so that you can more effectively rehabilitate or train your horse. And with that, I just want to say a big thank you for tuning in today. Please subscribe to the podcast on whichever platform you're listening on so that you don't miss any of our future episodes. And you can also follow along on the socials, which, remember, I've recently changed. So it's at Equestrian Mindset Academy on Instagram and Facebook. The links are in the show notes. Have a wonderful week, everyone, and I will speak to you soon. Thank you so much for listening. My goal is to help you more effectively train or rehabilitate your horse by focusing on your mindset and your management, both inside and outside of the arena. If this sounds like something you'd like one-on-one help with, or if you would like to follow along for more, come join me on Instagram or Facebook at Journey of Equine. The links will be in the show notes. Have a great week, everyone.